Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon to Disability Rights California's webinar on your right to vote. There's a picture of a little ballot box with a little ballot going in that says vote. As I said, this webinar is sponsored by Disability Rights California. My name is Debbie Davis. I am a person with lived experience, lots of years of lived experience. I volunteered for 10 years with Riverside County Patients' Rights, and I've been with Disability Rights California for the past 12 years. And I go to facilities and teach people self-advocacy skills and also about various rights. It's done by what the group wants to learn. I don't tell them, well, all right, we're going to do this. The group decides. In all our self-advocacy classes, the group decides. And so now I would like my host to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Brent Chamberlain, and I'm support staff for the PSA unit. I am going to be hosting the webinar. I'll be running the chat box and the participant group. So if you all have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and there's an option there above the chat box. Go ahead and raise your hand. You can also just type your questions in the chat box, or go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
And if you happen to be joining just by phone, there will be a time at the end of the presentation where Brent will unmute people, and you can ask the question if you're not on a computer. So let's talk about Disability Rights California. It is California's protection and advocacy system. It's one of the biggest protection and advocacy systems within the United States. And our mission statement is to advocate, educate, investigate, and litigate to advance and protect the rights of Californians with disabilities. Some of our services include intake and referral. We have oodles of disability-related publications and self-help materials. We do lots of trainings. We do public policy and legislative advocacy. In state hospitals, we have patients' rights advocates. For clients of regional centers, we have clients' rights advocates. We provide legal counsel. We sometimes will represent people who have disabilities within our priority areas, and we do systemic litigation. That's a fancy word for class action suits. An example of one that we did was, I'm in Sacramento, and the Sacramento County Jail was not adhering to the Americans with Disability Act. And so our attorneys talked with the jail staff and asked them to change things, and they weren't willing to do it. So we sued them on behalf of all current and future clients that happen to wind up in the jail for people with disabilities. And we won. So the jail is making some changes. Before I go on, I'm going to be giving some phone numbers and some other information as we continue on with this presentation. So I'm going to wait for just a few minutes. If you wouldn't mind grabbing a pencil and paper so you can write down some of the phone numbers and web addresses I will be giving. We'll wait just a second. And I see there's a group called FE Staff. Could someone from that group, mind telling me how many people from your organization are online?
Hi, Debbie. It's just one participant.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, hopefully people have been able to get a pen and paper just in case you want to write something down, phone number or web address. So we will continue on. I work in the Peer and Self-Advocacy unit. We have lots of units. We have a legislative unit, a legal unit, a legislative unit, a mental health unit, developmental disabilities and ID unit, just to name a few. And I work in the Peer and Self-Advocacy unit. To get hired in our unit, you have to be a person with either with a current mental health disability or a former person with lived experience. I'm a person who have lived experience currently, even for a lot of years. Any rate, bottom line, we do something that I absolutely love, and that's we go into facilities where the groups are, and we go into facilities like board and cares, room and boards. We go into IMDs. We go into acute psych units. We go into state hospitals, and we provide training for people in those facilities on topics that they want to know about. And we also provide training to service providers about self-advocacy, about legal rights, and access to services. We help participants develop self-advocacy skills and strategies to advance their own goals and services so they can advocate for what they want. Okay. A disclaimer, this training is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney, and I don't pretend to be one. Also, nothing is said during this training is confidential. If for some reason you would like to discuss a disability-related legal issue with us, you can reach us at 800-776-6746, or our TTY number is 800-719-5798. Okay, so who's allowed to vote in an election? Well, first, you must be 18 years or older. Second, you have to be a United States citizen, and there's two ways to be a citizen. That's being born here in the US or be a naturalized citizen. You cannot be in prison. Also, you cannot be on probation for a felony, nor can you be on parole for a felony. Once you're off probation, once you're off parole, once you're out of prison, then you're allowed to vote. And the last thing is, unless your right to vote has been taken away by a court, such as in a conservatorship hearing. Registering to vote. Where can you get registration forms? I'm going to be reading a web address. That web address is www, the word register, and the R is capitalized, then the word to, capital T-O, and then the word vote with the V being capitalized, and it's all one word, register to vote. Then it's .ca for California, .gov. You can go to that website and you can download or print out a voter registration form. Also, the Department of Motor Vehicles, they must offer voter registration forms to customers. And I believe some DMV offices are open for people who have appointments. You can also go to the county elections office. And for your county to find out the address, just go on the internet and type in the name of your county, such as I'm in Sacramento. I would type in Sacramento County Register of Voters. And it would come up and it would show me the phone number and it would show me the address. Or you can also call the Secretary of State, and their number is 800-345-8683, and they will mail you a registration form. And also, most post offices have voting registration forms. Well, you might think, oh, I don't have to register. You know, I voted in the last election, so I don't need to do that. But check this stuff out. Are you voting for the first time? Well, of course, you have to register. If you're 16 or 17 years old, you can pre-register to vote, but you can't vote until you are 18. Like this year, our voting day is November 3rd. If you turn 18 on November 3rd, you can vote. You can register to vote and you can vote. If you turn 18 on November 4th, you cannot vote. You must be 18 at the time that you vote. If you move to a different place, even if you move out of California, then you can't register here in California because you're no longer a resident. But if you move to a different city, you have to re-register. If you move across the street, you have to re-register. If you're in an apartment building and you move to a different apartment number, you have to re-register. If you change your name, you need to re-register. If you want to change your political party, you need to re-register. And this year, by October 19th of this year, that's 15 days before the general election, you need to register to vote. So what if you miss that date and you don't register? You can still register to vote. You could vote on the same day. You could register on November 3rd. You can wait that long. But you'll be given what we call a provisional ballot. This ballot, you go ahead, you mark your ballot, you turn it in or mail it in, just the way you usually do. And then when it goes to the elections department, they will verify whether you're allowed to vote or not. If they verify that, yes, you can vote, then your ballot goes in with all the other ballots and your vote is counted. If you vote and you're not entitled to vote, your vote will be torn up and it will not count. And the elections office will send you a postcard letting you know either way. You can get a provisional ballot. You can, on the day of election even, you can go to one of the polling places and say, I want to register to vote. They'll register you and they will give you a provisional ballot. And then you'll go to the voting place, privacy, do your vote, hand your ballot back. Or you can go to the county elections office and you could ask to register to vote. That's up until the day of voting, which is November 3rd this year. So, what if you have a disability? Of course you have a right to vote. No one can take away your right to vote except the court, like through a conservatorship hearing. If you use a wheelchair or have other mobility disabilities, the voting place must be accessible to you. If you cannot read the ballot, you can have someone help you read the ballot and then you decide how you want to vote, not the person helping you. It's about your vote, your voice. At every polling place or voting center, they must have at least one accessible voting machine. The systems make sure that a person with a disability can vote privately and independently. Some of the accessible technology is voting by a touch screen or voting by audio. People with disabilities and assisting voting. If you are a person with a disability and need assistance in order, you can choose anyone to help you in doing your voting. You may have a maximum of 2 people help you. There are 3 exceptions. 1, your employer cannot go with you and assist you in voting. Excuse me. And anyone who's an agent of your employer cannot assist you voting. And lastly, if you're a member of a union person cannot help you vote. And just please remember, no one has the right to tell you how to vote. Voting is your right and your responsibility. Well, I'll give you a little bit of history here. Just a little bit of political history. You may wonder, well, how did the Democrats wind up with a donkey and the Republicans wind up with an elephant? That's a little interesting. Well, the Democratic Party in 1828, Andrew Jackson was running for president. And some people didn't like him very much, and they called him a jackass. He wasn't angry. He was actually quite amused. So he started in his campaign literature having an image of a donkey. So he didn't mind they called him a jackass. He turned it into a national symbol for the Democrat Party. The Republican Party, it actually wasn't formed until 1854. There were rumors about Ulysses S. Grant was going to try to seek a third term. Well, that made people kind of put some people into a panic. And in the cartoonist, his name is Nast, and he drew animals and he depicted Republicans as an elephant. And for the third party panic for the cartoon for that, he drew various interest groups as animals. Well, also, and that just continued to follow the Republican Party in all their ads and things. And just to note, seeing the elephant, quote unquote, was an expression used by voters to mean seeing battle. Let's say a couple of companies came together that didn't really know each other, and one soldier might say to another from a different company, "Hey, have you seen the elephant?" And the soldier might respond, "Yeah, I saw him at the Wilderness. I saw him at Vicksburg. I saw him at Shiloh." Anyway, the elephant just stuck as a symbol for the Republicans. Sorry about that. Besides the Democrats and the Republicans, there are some other political parties. There's probably some that I haven't listed because I don't know them. We have the American Independent Party. We have the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the Natural Law Party, and the Peace and Freedom Party. People have various reasons for voting or not voting. People who vote usually vote because they want to make a change, or they say, well, I guess if I don't vote, I can't complain. And they say, well, I want to set an example for my nieces, my nephews, my children, whoever. Or I really care about this issue, so I want to be sure I vote. And then other people don't vote. They say, it's too inconvenient. It takes too long. My vote doesn't count. Or things like, I don't understand what I'm voting for. A lot of reasons why people don't vote and people vote. Which one are you going to choose? To vote or not to vote? Here's some voting options for November. Because of COVID-19, all registered voters will get a vote by mail ballot. Everybody who's registered gets the vote by mail. People with disabilities who the mail-in ballot doesn't work for them can use the county's remote accessible voting by mail ballot. What they need to do is they can use their own assistive devices on their home computer. They could go to the county's accessible voting by mail ballot. They then can review their ballot, print it out, and then they were given a prepaid stamp envelope to mail their ballot into, and they use that. Returning your vote by mail Like I said, everybody's going to get a ballot, and inside that ballot is a prepaid stamp envelope, so you don't have to pay for postage to mail your ballot out. So when you get your ballot, before election time, fill out your ballot and mail it before or on election day. If you mail your ballot and it's postmarked November 3rd for this year, you're good. If your ballot is postmarked November 4th, your vote doesn't count and it gets thrown away. It has to be postmarked no later than November 3rd. You can also designate somebody to turn your ballot in at a polling place. That person you choose must show ID when they go into the polling place. And be sure you sign your name on the ballot. I guess on the envelope for the ballot or the ballot, I'm not sure which. There will be limited in-person voting choices. Because of COVID-19, counties will be making changes in their in-person voting options. Polling places and vote centers will be open. There just won't be as many of them as there were in years gone by. And disability rights, because we are in a disability organization, we are involved in the discussion with county and state officials on how to make sure the in-person polling places are safe and accessible for voters with disabilities. If you decide to go into a vote center, bring the ballot that you were mailed. If you lost it, the ballot, you can go to the voting center and tell them that you lost the ballot, and they will tell you what can happen. So bring your ballot with you. There'll be a book that you'll be asked to sign your name in and to print your name in, and then you'll be directed to a private voting booth. Just to let you know, you can bring notes. I don't know if some of you remember a couple of years ago, we had a gazillion propositions, and I couldn't remember which one was which one. So when I sat at home and I marked my ballot, my sample ballot, what I wanted, I took that with me. And I also made notes that, okay, proposition 1, I put my choice, proposition 2, et cetera, because I just couldn't remember all the propositions. So you are allowed to take your notes in with you. That pretty much covers it, but how about quiz time? You can, true or false, you can vote at a polling place. That's true, any place in California. You can only vote at a polling place during election day. That's false. You can vote by mail. In fact, people are encouraged to vote by mail because there will be less polling places than there have in years gone by. Polling places must be accessible. True or false? That is true. They must be. And number 4, are you allowed to bring notes to the polling place? Absolutely true. Number 5, if you make a mistake, can you get another ballot? That's true. You give them the ballot you messed up, and they will give you a new ballot. They will mark the ballot that you give them as soiled, and they will put it wherever they put soiled ballots. It won't be counted. But the new ballot they gave you, when you're done and you put it into the, the vote box, it will count. So you can get another ballot. Don't sweat it. Just go tell the poll workers. If you vote at home, you can vote at a polling place. Is this true or is this false? This is false. You can only vote once. So if you vote at home, you can take your sealed signed ballot to a polling place and turn it in, or you can take your unmarked ballot that you have at home, take it to a polling place, and take that same ballot into the privacy booth and vote, and then return it. One person, one vote. And lastly, can you mail your ballot at any time before or on Election Day? True or false? That one is true. Okay, now's your time to ask questions or anything you'd like to say. Hello out there, any questions? Anybody want to say anything?
We have a question from Bianca Gallegos. Where can we learn about the measures that will be on the ballot?
You will be given a voter's pamphlet. It will be mailed to you, and if I'm remembering correctly, it will have the propositions, and it will have people writing the pros, why you should vote for it, and they'll be writing, and also another group or person will be writing the cons, why you should not vote for it. And then towards the back of the booklet, you will actually see the proposition in its full language. I read it. I go to the back of the book and read it, but sometimes they use so much legal language, I might sit with a dictionary. Not often, but sometimes it's that important for me to know exactly what I'm voting for. And that's a lot. I mean, most people read the pros and the cons. You can also probably go, let's say there was a Proposition 1. You could probably go on your computer and type in Proposition 1, 2020 and California. And you'll probably go to get the website where they talk about why this is a really good proposition. And there even might be in your search a place to click on for people who disagree, and you just listen to both sides. I hope that was helpful. Other questions?
Bianca has a follow-up.
Sure.
When will that be mailed out to us? Is there a website where we can read about it in real time before getting the pamphlet online, a place where all the propositions are listed?
I believe that if you contact the your county's register of voters, that they might be able to answer when they're going to be mailing out that pamphlet or that booklet. Or you could probably call or email the Secretary of State. But I think the elections, your county elections office or register of voters, that they would know when they're going to be mailing that out. I know that I usually get it a couple weeks before the election. If you're curious to see what may be on the ballot, you could go on the internet and just search for propositions for 2020 and California. That might be able to show you what will be coming. I'm not sure, but that's what I would do. Questions? Okay, I have some other resources for voting resources. And like I was mentioning to Bianca about the Secretary of State, their web address is www. This is all small case, sos.ca for California, .gov You could also go to another website, which is www.voterschoice.org. That's VOTERSCHOICE.org. Another website is www.easy voter guide GUIDE.org. And the last resource I have is it's called Voters Edge Guide, and it's www.voters, plural, edge, EDGE, CA for California.org. I'm going to leave this up on the screen for just a few minutes. Okay, here's a quote from FDR. Nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves. The only way they can do this is by not voting. And here's some resources for Disability Rights California if you'd like to find out more about us, or if you'd like to look at our publications that talk about various programs and things for people with disabilities. If you'd like some assistance with a disability-related matter, you can call our confidential intake line at 800-776-5746. We're open Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And our TTY number is 800-719-5798. And again, our hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you'd like to check out our website, you can find us at www.disability rights, RIGHTS, CA for California.org. I'm open for any more questions or comments. This pretty much concludes our presentation for today. We're going to be having some webinars on, let's see, next, on SSDI and the work incentive programs through Social Security. One will be the Spanish one, I believe, will be on Tuesday, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. And the English one will be on this coming Thursday, a week from today, on at 3 p.m. I hope if you're on SSDI and thinking about going to work, then come check it out. And check out our website, www.disabilityrightsca.org, and scroll down till you see webinars, and you'll find our schedule for the rest of the month. And also other units will be putting on webinars on different subjects, and our webinars are always free. And anyone have any comment they'd like to make or question before we end this webinar? I thank you all. I hope this information was helpful, and please, please, please vote. Thank you. Bye.